Welcome to Chaotically Nerdy, a podcast made by nerds for nerds. This podcast is made by adults, for adults, and for children with bad parents. Adult language will be used, and adult situations may arise. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chaotically Nerdy. On today's episode is me, Tyler, and
me, Jarrett.
And that's it, because,
Ethan's a bitch.
Yeah, here it is, almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah,
and
hour and a half later.
Yeah, we've decided to say fuck it and fuck him.
Yep, we'll record without him.
We've tried to find replacements, and nobody's responding.
Because we're losers.
Yeah. It really sucks. And that's the episode. Bye, guys. No, on today's episode, we're going to talk about The Mandalorian Season 3. We're going to give our overall thoughts. We're going to break through the episodes. I really wanted Ethan to be here because he holds himself as a holy Star Wars person and thinks his opinion is
above
or identical to the words in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like if there was a Star Wars Bible, he's the one passing out the literature. This is also probably going to be the We Shit on Ethan episode.
Again. Part duh.
No, part trace.
Part trace.
So, season 3 overall thoughts. Like, did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Overall, we're going to roll the dice, even though there's only 2 of us. So, technically, flip a coin. Yeah. You're up, Jarrett. What do you think about this season?
I liked it. It was, I liked a lot of the Mandalorian backstory stuff that we started getting with, between Bo and the armor and stuff like that. Integrating the Mandalorians back together as a singular people again. That was neat.
Even though they live differently.
Yeah. Showing that they can cohabitate, at least for a short period of time.
It was real short.
Yeah. But a lot of the other stuff is just kind of like, meh. It's very popular to shit on the 3rd episode because it doesn't really lead a whole lot of places. Right? 3rd episode?
Yeah. 3rd episode was the one that was basically Imperial Rehab.
Yeah, Imperial Rehab. And then...
And Betrayal.
Episode 4 is the filler episode with where they save the kid from the crocodile person.
I don't know.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Episode 4 is that, so episode 3 is the convert.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the titles now. The convert was I have no other way to say it otherwise than Imperial Rehabilitation / Betrayal because... Yeah,
it's showing like what they do with Imperial scientists and officers that they have captured, and they're trying to reintegrate them back into the New Republic society, and how there are probably like some not so good things about that.
It's kind of like how they just forego the fact that the Imperial does have some good tech that they could use and be repurposed, but they're just like, nah, fuck it. Yeah, episode 3 is easy to shit on, and episode 6 were the 2 lowest rated this season, which we'll talk about the ratings later. Of the episodes that I watched, those 2 were probably my least favorite. So, I mean, I agree that's why. Episode 3 seems the easiest to shit on because it has nothing to do with the Mandalorian. Like, there's nothing going on. It seems out of place.
The only like semi-connective part is the illusion that Moff Gideon is out doing things and is escaped from New Republic custody.
Yeah.
And that's only like very lightly like hinted at, really. Yeah. That's really the only like important plot piece. Other than that, yeah, it's a very skippable episode. It's not like a bad episode. It's just not.
It's not necessary.
Yeah.
Because the only character that they kept from that is the person that betrayed. I can't remember her name.
I don't remember.
And I don't even remember her saying anything besides saying something to Moff Gideon about the Mandalorians basically regrouping. Yeah. Like they were all grouping together.
And she was like spying on whenever, what's his name? I forget what his character's name is, but it's the the dad from Kim's Convenience.
I have no idea.
The fat Asian guy.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember his name.
The fat Asian. It's funny that's the way you described him, and I remembered it.
Yeah.
But
he, like, she was like spying on him, and he was meeting with Tim Meadows or Tim Meadows? No, Tim Reed. Whichever one that is. Forget.
It'll be all right.
But yeah, like she spied on him and was like, yeah, they're regrouping on Navarro.
And they're going to retake Mandalore. Yeah. And that was it, basically. So to the next point, do we think the quality is improving or decreasing throughout the seasons?
It's just like so up and down.
Some episodes are just
really good,
really phenomenal, like, and some of them are like, I didn't need to watch this. Yeah. And I can tell whenever an episode's really good because Sam watches it with me, and she will not fall asleep on the really good episodes. Yeah. But on the ones that are, she falls asleep.
I'm kind of confused where we're going from here.
Yeah, it is.
I guess not confused. It's kind of clear where they're going to go. They're going to do some sort of like.
It's going to turn back into more like season 1 where he's out doing missions and doing bounties, and which is fine. Like I prefer to see that personally.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to tie into like Ahsoka or something with Thrawn.
I'm sure it will somehow.
It is very just, I don't know. We're at like a midpoint where I'm not sure which way they're going to pivot with the series in such a way.
And then I put thoughts on the rehab episode. We've kind of already talked about that. It seemed out of place and unnecessary. It's neat to see and neat to find out that lore, but I don't think it was.
And if it leads somewhere to eventually, like it's like great. Like if this turns into like a plot point in season 4 of like Imperial spies in the New Republic still. Yeah, and like him trying to or somebody trying to unearth them. I'm like, okay, yeah, like this, it's neat. We already had some established backstory here to like start this along.
But if it doesn't lead anywhere, it was a waste of an hour.
Yeah,
I mean, flat out. There's no way around it. Next up is, do you think they should? Which obviously now we kind of know. I wrote this right before I watched the final episode, episode 9. If we think they should go down Bo-Katan's storyline more or focus on Din Djarin and Grogu. So now we know that they're going to focus more on Din and Grogu. But I would still like to see Bo, and I would like to see them go back to Mandalore, assuming that they're going to stay there as the Mandalorians, even though they kind of exploded a whole work base. But I guess they did technically have a forge, and they're able to still.
Yeah,
it was more of the Imperial setup that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you want to see them go down?
Yeah, because I'm a lot more interested in that part of the story of like the Mandalorians and Bo in particular, like trying to re-establish Mandalore as a planet or as a place, I guess, that people can
actually come and live and trade
and trade and visit,
hire them, and
it's a lot more interesting than, I don't know, I guess not interesting, but it's more of like a cohesive plot point than just Din just fucking going around
and being a bounty hunter.
Yeah,
like just I'm gonna go catch this guy. Oh shit, he fought me too hard. I have to kill him now.
Not that there haven't been great episodes from the first 2 seasons that were literally just like Monster of the Week or, Mission of the Week episode types that were like that. But it's just like, those are really hard to write and be good. Like you can write them and have them be shit.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy. Like there's 1,000 different police procedurals, on TV that do the same thing. That's like, you have a new case every week and for every episode, and most of them are garbage.
It's NCIS, basically.
NCIS. What the hell is the other one?
Law and Order.
Law and Order.
Yeah, there's all
Chicago
kinds of
Fire, the Chicago series, whatever. It's the same. It's just post procedurals.
So I'm actually going to skip because you talked about Monster of the Week, because I noticed something while watching it that it almost seems like there's a monster of the season, and that they choose like a type of monster to bring in for multiple episodes, if you haven't noticed. So what the fuck was with the affinity with croc creatures?
They're cool looking. I don't know.
Because, like, you start off, you've got that giant fucking croc that they fight. It comes out of the water at first, and they fight that croc, kill it, and then later on, they get a crocodile. No, crocodactyl. That's how I was going to say that. It was a mix between a pterodactyl and a croc that takes the kid.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed odd that was... I mean, I guess not odd. It's they can choose whatever they want, but it feels like there should be more options than just
a little bit more diversity in the monster design. Yeah, I don't know if it was more of if it was like they just like crocodiles look badass, like let's just use those, or if they're just like losing creative
vision,
and
they could not think of anything else.
Guess, I don't know. That would be a question for Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau.
Yeah, fair enough. So now to go back, do you think it was a good idea to bring back Moff Gideon? Again, wrote this before I watched the final episode. Do you think it was a good idea to bring back Moff Gideon for a whole 2 episodes?
I mean, I guess.
Or I guess 3 maybe. But
I really like Giancarlo Esposito, so, you know, I generally enjoy everything he's in.
Yeah.
He's a very good actor.
He is. And he plays a very good villain.
I liked almost all of the scenes that he was in this season, except for the fight scene at the end, because it was just dumb.
Yeah, I have problems with the fight scene too.
Not that the fight scene was like choreographed necessarily in a bad way. I just thought like that Moff Gideon being the one to fight was dumb. Because, you know, he's like a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. But to give him a little bit of credit, you could tell just from the noises they made that his suit was enhanced.
Sure. Yeah, I get it.
Which is also kind of like dumb in its own right.
Yeah.
Because whenever you think about Darth Vader, his suit's enhanced, but that's because it's entirely robotic.
Yeah.
It's not around him.
Yeah.
Whereas Moff Gideon's is just around his body because he had a horde of clones. Mm-hmm. Which they'll probably bring him back because who's to say that that's the only spot where he has clones.
Totally can bring him back. Like, cloning's on the table. Anybody can come back. Doesn't matter.
On to the next point. What do you think about the traitor theory, which is the fact that people think the armor is a traitor to the Mandalorians and is the one that made the Beskar armor for the Dark Troopers and for Moff Gideon? Do you think there's any merit there, or do you think it's just bullshit and that they had somebody do it? And
I think people are just reaching too far because, I mean, who's to say that she's the only one that can
make Beskar
forge Beskar armor? Like,
I mean, ideally, anybody that knows how to forge any armor, if they had enough heat, could melt it and forge Beskar. I mean, which I don't know as much about Star Wars lore, so I don't know if there's something special about Beskar that you have to do a certain thing with it.
Doesn't appear to be.
Yeah. It literally seems like you just have to have it hot enough, and that seems to be the main issue. And that's why Mandalorians, like on Mandalore, that forge was so special to them.
But, I mean, she's been able to make Beskar armor on every planet that they've been on.
I don't know.
I think people are reaching a little bit much because she's just so, like, vague and, like, nebulous as a character. Like, you don't really know her intentions, really. Yeah.
I think she was a little redeemed from that theory fighting against the Dark Troopers.
Yeah. Now, I will say, like, going back to the fight scene at the end, the Mandalorians versus the Dark Troopers, that shit was awesome. I love that shit. That was cool. The whole, like, mid-air combat stuff.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It was the most badass scene.
Yeah, I was like, this is fucking great. I want this.
Although I do have a problem with it. I have a problem with it in the fact that during episode 4, with whenever they're, like, flying the jetpacks, they run out of fuel.
I mean, I was thinking that, like,
so fast.
I'm like, man, they have a lot of fuel. They're like flying everywhere.
I was like, God, they're flying a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and then that one guy flew all the way to the fucking ship.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did he have enough? Like, does he have extra fuel hid somewhere? Does he use his piss as fuel? Like, what's happening?
His piss is jet fuel. He drinks that Monster Energy.
Ooh, that would do it.
That'll do it.
We already talked about the croc affinity, which it could have been because it's like a desert.
Yeah.
Australia. Maybe. I don't know. There's no telling. Next up was, were the pirates wasted?
No. because I don't think they're really that important. They're just like they're like a bad guy. They're a villain of the week type of thing. Where like they showed up and they're like, show back at like.
Yep. I mean, they showed up to get defeated.
Yeah.
And with no real resistance. I mean,
I really didn't think. I never was like, when they showed up, I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely gonna, win. I'm like, oh yeah, they're here just so the Mandalorians have somebody to whip the shit out of.
yeah. I mean, it's understandable. I don't know. It just almost felt a little wasted. A little bit. Not a whole lot. Just a little bit. So I think it's episode 6. It's episode 6, which I just realized I wrote down the wrong rating for episode 5. Episode 6 is the lowest rated this season, and that's I'm going to call it the cameo episode, because that's the one that had Jack Black,
Sure.
Lizzo, Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah. I don't call them cameos really, but yeah.
They were
A cameo is like more like a split second, like you miss it.
I think
Or
it's
like a 30-second spot but they're like
so to me,
prominent characters in the episode.
I get that. But to me, a cameo is someone being in an episode just because they are who they are. So like
Kinda, yeah.
Seth Rogen being Donkey Kong and Mario. That's a cameo to me because they did not make him do a different voice. He didn't do he just, I haven't watched it yet, but from everything I've read, he is literally just Seth Rogen reading lines for Donkey Kong. He does his laugh. Because I have seen that clip.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, to me, that's a cameo. If it's just somebody being cast as something because that's their name, not because they can do a job particularly well. I feel like Lizzo got cast because she's Lizzo.
Yeah. But I also didn't think she did like a bad job. Like it was like oh fine. She's very like rich and
Yeah.
goofy, and I'm like, yeah, this works. This all works.
Yeah. It was a weird episode.
It was a weird episode, but I didn't mind it. Just the middle 3 episodes are kind of just like, they're weird and like,
Well,
they seem like they're there to like stretch out the
middle 4.
4. Yeah, I guess.
Because episode 3 was the
Yeah.
rehab episode. Episode 4 was the filler where they have to save the kid.
5 is the pirates.
Yes. 5 is pirates.
Yeah, so middle 4, seemed like they were there to more stretch out the season to make it last long enough.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, but it's
That's what I'm saying, like to like stretch out so that way it wasn't just like 4 episodes or whatever, 5 episodes.
yeah,
If you would have combined the actual important parts from those 4 episodes into 1 episode.
it's true.
So I don't know why they did that. Like, why did they feel the need to have like 4 filler episodes?
Because they just didn't have any.
I mean, I would rather you like delay it than like.
Which we've talked about this before. Mandalorian has the benefit of not having works attached to it.
Yeah.
So it can do its own thing.
Sure.
That is both a benefit and a problem.
Yeah, when you kind of lose the plot.
Yeah. And I mean, you could argue that during episode 3 through 6, well, kind of, you bounce back and forth between the plot.
Yeah. So I said there's not like enough plot there to really have more than like probably 1 episode.
Yeah.
So they just like stretched it out.
They
It was like,
put
we'll
a
just
lot
build
of
shit.
Yeah. There's a lot of filler around the plot.
It would be better if they probably would have split out maybe the filler episodes somehow. I don't know.
And have a more plot heavy episode in the middle of it.
Yeah, just kind of make it like less.
But,
You're
I
like,
mean,
what the fuck's what are we doing?
it's kind of hard to do that when you don't have a whole lot of plot to push.
That is true. That is true.
Jar Jar's actor finally getting a little bit of redemption.
Ahmad Best.
Yeah, Ahmad Best.
As
I
Kelleran
knew that
Beck.
either you or Ethan, who's not here because he's a bitch, would know that
He's a big dumb bitch.
as Kelleran Beck. That was great. I'm super happy for him because I don't know if you knew the story or not, but he contemplated suicide because he got so much hate for Jar Jar. Which I understand, but I don't understand.
Like, Jar Jar's goofy.
It's also not his fault.
No.
Like, it's not.
It's part of the dumb part of the Star Wars, and not only just Star Wars fandom, but fandoms in general that just like attack shit that they don't like, that like
Yeah.
to extreme degree, that's definitely like crosses the line.
It absolutely crossed the line. They should not have done that. There's no need for them to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to add this question because I haven't, or I thought about it, but again, did this before episode 9. Do you think Moff Gideon's actually dead, or do you? I mean, we kind of hit on it earlier, but do you think he's actually got more clones somewhere else? Do you think that was his only base of clones?
Here's my thing: we see them light people on fire with the flamethrowers and the Beskar armor, and it like does nothing.
Yeah.
Why would I think that a giant explosion would kill a guy that's in full Beskar armor?
Fair enough.
Why would I think that? I wouldn't. I'd be like, I watched it and I'm like, well, he's not dead.
Now, okay.
If they wrote it to say he's not dead, he's not dead. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. So the issue with that, not issue that I have with that, it's if you think about it, heat.
Sure.
A bigger explosion would essentially cause more heat.
Yeah.
And which could then melt.
And they were like having, it was like a sustained explosion.
Yeah.
Fireball. I'm just saying, if they decided he's not dead, and they were like, we don't want to use the clone route because they obviously destroyed all the clones.
They could absolutely do that.
They'd just be like, he just survived because he's in Beskar armor, so fuck you.
Yeah. Or they could easily say, well, obviously he's not going to have, because Moff Gideon would be smart enough to have more than one base with clones.
Sure.
I would assume. Mandalore would be probably the safest one because it was uninhabited for the most part. I just want to mention it. Grogu being in that fucking suit was hilarious to me.
It was funny. It was also really dumb.
It was.
But it was also really funny when he was, smashing the yes.
Yes.
No. Yes.
Because that's such a kid thing.
Oh, yeah. It's totally like something a small child does to annoy a parent.
Yeah. It's just say no constantly.
Yeah. But it was also really, I'm kind of glad that they took him out and made IG back to an actual droid that is not just a suit of armor for Grogu.
I mean, I wanted both.
Yeah.
I want my cake and I want to eat it too.
I was like, for a second there at the very end, when the armor was like, he can't speak the creed, he made like a sound. I was like, is he going to say a word?
Well, he said a word. He said thanks.
I mean, is he going to like say like,
the creed? Like, is he going to read the whole creed?
Try and say the creed? I'm like, that would have been like, I was like, oh, that'd be some like interesting character development.
Yeah. But he did say a word. He said thanks. After Den opens up the door and they fight him off, and he's like, you did good, kid. You can hear him just very quietly. Thanks. It's close enough that you can make it out and be like, yeah.
I didn't get that.
Yeah. I'd seen several videos about it because people are like, how dare Din not acknowledge his child's first words? Was basically what people were saying.
Yeah, but eventually they're going to have to have him fucking talk.
They have to.
Like, I get that like their race ages so like slowly or whatever, or matures slowly, but it's like
talk.
But like have him say some words, like start communicating because it's like
get Laura Bailey, have her do a little bitty kid voice, and let him talk. That's what I want for season 4. I want a time cut, and I want him to start or time jump, not time cut.
Time cut.
I mean, just cut the time out. I don't care.
Just cut the time.
And jump onto there, do that. Have him talk. And then that also adds to, especially if he talks like a toddler would, or even a small child where he can talk fluently, but he's an asshole about it.
Yeah.
It's, I know best. Now let's jump into the rankings and see what we think about what IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, all that fun stuff says about it. See if we kind of agree, if we think they're better, worse, or whatever. I've pulled it up on my phone just so I can actually have the most up to date. So episode 1, which is The Apostate, it is a 7.5 on IMDb. What do you think that's good? Do you think that's low? Do you think it's...
That seems about right.
Yeah. Like it was a fine episode. It wasn't bad, wasn't good.
No, that seems about right though.
Yep. Episode 2, which is The Mines of Mandalore, was an 8.3. And that's where he actually... That's the first time he goes. He doesn't go back, right? They don't actually go into the water. Is that
Again, not until the very end.
okay? So he does go into the waters that episode.
Yeah.
But I agree that that's an 8.3, if not higher.
Yeah, it's like
Because I mean that was a really good episode, or at least I thought it was. Episode 3, which is the convert or the rehab episode, is a 7.0 on there. Do you think that's high, low, accurate?
I would agree with it because it's not a bad episode. It just doesn't really
Doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit right now.
And I'm curious.
It might fit later, but it just doesn't fit right now.
Here, after we finish looking over these, I will pull that up and see if that's what most people's complaints are, or see what the complaints are with the episode.
I feel like that is because there's just people be like, it just, what is this? This plot, it means nothing to what we were working towards.
Yeah, and then chapter 20. That's
how I number them. But
yeah. Episode 4 is the Foundling, which is where they have to go and catch the kid, and Grogu gets to show off his sweet jumping skills. Have you seen those videos? I think you use YouTube, don't you?
Yeah.
For like reels. They're like, my son does not have the ADD. He just likes to jump. Have you seen that video?
No.
I will find it and I will show it to you because it's Pedro Pascal dressed up as a woman saying that, and it's just fucking hilarious. But it is a 7.7. And I agree with that. I think it's a very good episode. Again, it is kind of a filler episode.
It's a filler episode, but filler episodes are not always bad episodes.
Between episode 3 and episode 4, I would rather watch episode 4 because it's about Mandalorians.
Yeah.
And I'm watching a show about Mandalorians. That's just the way I think it is. Episode 5, I keep wanting to say the chapter. Episode 5 is The Pirate. It got an 8.2. That's just the ones where they fight the pirates.
It's a good episode. Like I liked, it's like...
It's a good episode, but I don't know that I would put it higher than episode 4 for me.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird...
They're very close to me.
That's what I'm saying. Like to me, I would put episode 5 at an 8 and episode 5 at a 7.9 and episode 4 at an 8. And just, I mean, they're that close. And then episode 6, we've already kind of talked about. It's a 6.3. It is the lowest rated this season.
It's a weird episode, but like it also is like a fine episode. Like it was like kind of like a buddy cop episode with Bo and
Din.
And like it was fun. I actually had like a good time watching that. Like it was.
I did.
I think it's better than a 6.3. I think it's at least like a 7.5 at least.
Yeah,
like
I'd say like lower sevens.
People just like overreact to the celebrity cameo / castings, and they're like, they freak out about it.
Yeah, and that's another one I will look at to see kind of why people rated it so low here in a little bit. Episode 7 is The Spies. It's rated at an 8.9, which is actually down from what it was whenever I made the script because it was a 9. It's the highest rated this season. And I agree with that. That was a phenomenal episode.
It's probably my favorite episode, just of them all going to Mandalore and fucking Paz Vizsla dying at the very end. Like
it's such a...
It's cool. It's cool.
It's cool. It was unnecessary.
Oh, unnecessary. But I'm like, it's fucking badass. Like,
he could have walked through the doors and they could have closed them.
Yep.
But it's something about holding a minigun that just makes you feel like you have to sacrifice yourself.
You have to sacrifice yourself.
And then episode 8, I thought there was 9 episodes this season.
There's not. There's only 8.
Well, I've been saying 9 this whole time. So episode 8 is an 8.5. I mean, I agree with that.
I liked all the episodes except for literally the fight with Moff Gideon and Bo and Din. Like I didn't really care for that fight just because it was just. I never thought of Moff Gideon as like a brawler. I thought he's more of like a tactician, sneaky type to me. Like,
I mean, he is.
Like outmaneuvers people. Like so that was just a weird.
He is, but at the same time, there comes a point where,
I guess
you can't not fight, and that was it. And he also has a hatred for Din.
Yeah.
Because as he said, he was going to try and basically use Grogu to give people the Force.
I think I would have preferred if they would have had a more sustained, like, 4-on-2, 4-on-3 with the. I guess those guys are supposed to be kind of like the Praetorian Guards, but they're not.
I think they're like early iterations.
Well, later.
Later.
This is after the trilogy, and they're dressed in the same.
It's after the
original trilogy.
Okay,
that's the Praetorian Guards are the red people.
Yeah, but they're in the new trilogy too, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're protecting Snoke.
They might be, yeah.
And Adam Driver and...
it's more of a continuation of the same, like...
Yeah.
They protect the leader or leaders of the...
Yeah. They're in the... I remember them from the newest one.
Yeah, they are in that. They are in the Last Jedi. They fight in the...
yeah, Kylo and Rey fight them together.
But that's the same. It's the same thing as the... We just never see them fight in the original trilogy.
Oh, well, I don't... Yeah. Maybe that's why I don't remember them, because I didn't see
they don't ever fight. They're literally... There's two of them, and they stand next on either side of the elevator door and the Emperor's throne room.
Gotcha.
That's all they do. But I believe in the extended universe and the comics and stuff, they're like badasses, like they were in this last episode and the last two episodes, I guess.
Gotcha. So I'm reading reviews, trying to see what people say. A lot of the ratings are like kind of mid. A lot of them are ones. So that
people don't know how to rate stuff properly. It's like if they don't like it, they're like it's a 1. I'm like, well,
yeah,
is it really a 1 or is it like a 4 or 5?
This one was terrible, and I have faithfully watched this series as one of my favorites. No, I did not want to watch a whole episode of Dr. Nerding and the Imperial Alphabet Captain. Stop trying to generate sympathy. They are the evil empire. Never cared for either of these characters, and I'm not liking Disney. Yeah, that's kind of just stupid. They're bitching. And then this is the first one I've ever given out, and this episode fully deserves it. It starts out with a pretty lame action scene and then switches places. We are now on Coruscant following the story of ex-Imperials trying to integrate back into society. Not a bad premise, but the writing is so incredibly awful, it is painful to watch. I didn't think the writing was that bad.
There's one thing, it's at the very end where she just is left alone with him.
Yeah,
that was a weird, like, what the fuck? Like, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. And even if it...
There's no way they would ever leave anybody in there alone, especially
not while they're doing... Yeah, not while they're doing a procedure.
Yeah. That was
because if you think about it, that's a procedure.
Yeah, that's the only bit of writing that I was like, that was dumb, but I was like, all right, yeah, whatever, we'll brush it off.
Yeah, and and they complained about a few other things, but nothing like terrible. So now let's go to episode 6, not chapter. Stop it, dumbass. Let's see. Here's a 4 out of... See, this one looks like it may be rated a little bit better. Like, it's not people just being like 1. Mm-hmm. I want it as low as it'll get. Whenever there's a Mandalorian episode, there are 2 certainties. If there is a Jon Favreau episode, it's going to be a good one. It will feel like Star Wars. The plot will make sense. No contrivances. Just plain old Star Wars, as we so rarely get. On the other hand, if there is a Bryce Dallas episode, Bryce Dallas Howard, because she directed that episode, you can bet it's going to be awful. It will feel and look nothing like Star Wars, and the plot will be awful characters.
They act
awful, and characters will not act like they did before. Yes, it was obvious. It was only a matter of time until Bo-Katan took back the Darksaber. We all knew that. However, we would have expected a much more interesting way for her to take it back, other than some dumb explanation that makes no sense and contradicts previous episodes. Please stop giving Bryce Dallas Howard more directing roles in Star Wars. She doesn't care about the franchise. She's not a good director. So that's kind of... I think that's people taking out more anger on...
I'm confused. I didn't know Bryce Dallas Howard wrote the episode.
Yeah.
All they're complaining about is writing stuff.
Yeah, and she directed it.
I was going to look up to see who the writer was. Yeah, that was written by fucking Jon Favreau, bud.
Was it?
Yeah, that episode was written by Jon Favreau.
Well, you kind of did a bad
job. Nobody's going to bat 1,000 every time.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I don't blame, especially like on a series like this where there's multiple directors. They have like almost no input on the actual plot or...
this person gave a 3 because they just didn't like that it was a filler, basically.
That's fine. Like if you give like a more than a 1 and you give like legitimate reasons, I'm like, okay, fair.
This person gave a 1 because they're mad that didn't give Bo the Darksaber.
No.
They literally explained why he gave it away.
Yeah.
And he never wanted it to start with.
Yeah, he never wanted it. which I guess theoretically, if you follow like the rule of law, usually would make him a better ruler than Bo, because if you don't want the power, then you don't want the power. Yeah. The whole thing.
I don't want it.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
This one is a 3, and it also, they talk about Jon Favreau writing it.
There you go.
It says Jon Favreau continues to prove that he has no real idea how to write a long-form series, and also that he's struggling for ideas.
That I could definitely see the struggling for ideas, because
absolutely.
And I'm not sure if that's like they need to include more writers or,
but that's
take a longer amount of time in between seasons. I'm not sure.
Now, see, this is a review I can get behind because it's short, it's simple, it's to the point. 6 out of 10. Cheap attempts at humor, unnecessary side jobs, bad acting in areas. Perfect.
That's fine.
I can agree with that.
Those are all legitimate complaints. It's not a 1. Literally, if you had the 1 and those same complaints, I'm like, it's still not a 1 though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like at that point, you're just being mad. And
I don't know if I've ever actually seen an episode of television that was a 1. That I was like, this is the worst, awfulest piece of garbage I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've seen some Lucy. That movie, that's the only movie that I would ever give a 1 to. And it was absolute dog shit. I hate that movie. I've said it several times on the podcast before. That is my least favorite movie to ever exist. So, on Rotten Tomatoes, now we're going to talk about like what the scores they get. Just because I want to mention them, I feel like they're fairly accurate for the most part.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Well, I like Rotten Tomatoes because it takes the critics into it, and it takes other people, normal people. So on Rotten Tomatoes, season 3, this is season 3. Season 3 got an 85% tomato meter with 230 reviews and a 51% audience score with 1,000+ reviews so far. That seems low for the audience.
That's very low.
Which I imagine it's a lot of ones, and like a lot of 1% and stuff like that. The same as how IMDb, that seems to be how they get so low.
Yeah, I would feel like it's probably more in that 70-ish% range, probably.
Probably. I would say low 70s. Yeah. Maybe even high
60s. People are like, will get upset about that and like think that like 70% is bad.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no, 70% is average. C's get degrees, baby.
It's not even average. That's a 7 out of 10. That's good. That's like, it's a good thing. To get higher than that.
But everybody expects 10 out of 10.
I guess.
That's the thing. Every single person expects 10 out of 10, no matter what.
I mean, yeah, it'd be great if everything I ever watched was 10 out of 10, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
You gotta manage your expectations a little bit.
Yeah. So the total Rotten Tomatoes score, I believe this is like a more accurate depiction of the series. Yeah. It's a 90% tomato meter and a 78% audience score. I think that's spot on. Mm-hmm. I mean, critics are probably going to love it because it's Star Wars. They're going to love everything Star Wars, typically. And then the people, there's been bad enough episodes that it would lower the score to 78, but it's still.
I mean, mostly it was season 3 that lowered it to 78, or else it probably would have been the 80s to 90s.
Oh, absolutely, because now we're going to talk about the other season scores, which is season 1 got a 93% tomato meter with 339 reviews and a 92% audience score with 10,000+ reviews. Mm-hmm. So obviously that one was ridiculously high, probably because it was new.
It's new. It's
Star Wars. People were excited about it.
And you had fresh ideas.
Yes. It was Monster of the Week, which was fun to watch. A kind of Monster of the Week.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, you have all you could have like 8 solid ideas in there and like knock it out of the park. Whereas the longer you go with Monster of the Week, the harder it is to have good episodes every time. You're just going to have...
You're going to run into repetitive stories.
That's why I wanted them to kind of transition away from it. Because it's harder to write Monster of the Week and be good. Yeah. It's easier to write overall because you can just write, like I said earlier, you can just write a bunch of shit.
Yeah. So season 2 had a 93% tomato score with 450 reviews and a 91% audience score with 2,500+ ratings. Yep. I don't remember season 2 that much.
It's more like where they got in like the Darksaber stuff. That's where we met. Again, it's good where we met Ahsoka.
Okay, then I do. I remember meeting Ahsoka and everything. I just don't remember
the Luke stuff when he
saved him
at the end. Fantastic shit.
thought that was season 1.
No.
God honest, thought it was. But that tells you how much I remember about the storyline of The Mandalorian. But
it just got muddled in your brain.
yeah, it's 100% what happened. Everything just got mixed up, which it does. I think that will wrap up everything, though. As far as The Mandalorian Season 3, Ethan's still not here. We got a text, so he'll probably show up any minute.
Yeah.
So that's why we're wrapping it up real fast so that we can continue to call him a bitch on future episodes for just missing and being late, considering we waited for quite a while. So thank you guys for listening. You can find a link tree that will take you to all of the places you can find us on social media, like TikTok. I don't think I've added the TikTok on there yet, but I need to. Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Facebook, Instagram, all the good places. And our Discord, which is where you can talk to us and you can tell us how we have wrong opinions about this or we have right opinions, and you can just bitch. And if you spend enough time in there, we'll probably make fun of you like we do Jamie constantly. It's always fun. So we appreciate you guys listening, and we hope that you will join us for the next one.